I sat on this movie for a couple of days now, and I have some thoughts. Antebellum is directed by Gerard Bush and Christopher Entz. It stars Janelle Monáe as a woman trapped on a mysterious plantation. Going into this movie, I was kind of on the fence. I personally am kind of tired of slavery movies. I feel like there's not much more to say there. Obviously, we should keep talking about these things. This is still something that's very relevant to today, but in terms of entertainment, in terms of the movies, I think they don't really add much anymore to the conversation. They don't really do much. So going into this movie, I was still kind of on the fence because it was, in one part, a slavery movie, but it looked like they were going in some kind of different direction there. And to a degree, I think they did, but for a lot of the movie, I feel like it was kind of mismarketed. In this trailer, they were really emphasizing that this was produced by somebody that was on Get Out, that this is going to be like some kind of creepy social horror thing, and it wasn't really that. In that regard, I was disappointed, but I think ultimately what we got was entertaining, but it was just fine. I don't think it was like the best horror movie. It wasn't even really much of a horror movie, so let's get into it. So, first of all, the first two acts for me weren't really doing much for me. They weren't super eventful necessarily. I mean, things were happening, but in terms of the story, I didn't really understand what was going on. There wasn't a lot of character development necessarily. Some characters got more time than others, like Janelle Monáe's character, since she's the protagonist. Cherrie Clemens has a character. She gets a little bit of time in the spotlight. And then in the second act, there's some other characters they bring in that don't really do much. They have like one or two scenes with Janelle Monáe's character, and then that's it. But for me, the movie kind of won me over towards the end of the second act into the third act. That's where it kind of goes in a different direction, and I understood what was going on here. So, first of all, going into it, you have to know this is not a super scary movie. At least for me, this was not a super scary movie. There wasn't a lot of jump scares. There wasn't a lot of creepy imagery, which they may try and seem like in the trailer, but that wasn't really there. To me, this feels more like a thriller with some action, some violence, but it's not a spooky movie. It's not a creepy movie. It's just kind of action-y movie, right? And so in that regard, I think it's okay. Janelle Monáe did pretty good in her role. I think she was fine. I don't think her performance blew me away. Now, Jenna Maloney was in this movie, and she was very creepy. I think she did a great job in this, being this really creepy white lady on the plantation. She did really well there. Cherrie Clemens, I thought her character was done well too. I think I sympathized with her character the most through this movie. But then everything else was just kind of Everybody else was kind of there. To some degree, they do establish who Janelle Monáe's character is. You understand that she's an author, she has a family, a husband, a daughter. But then after that, there's not much more to it. You know what I mean? Once you figure out what her motivation is, once you figure out what her actual situation is, you understand it and you're along for the ride. But otherwise, I wasn't like rooting for her as much as I probably should have been. Like, I don't think they give us enough to truly care about all the characters necessarily. Now, again, once you get towards the second or third act, that's where I think I was on board. That's where I was like, okay, I see where they're going. I see what's going on here. And so, overall, I was entertained by the time the credits rolled. I was entertained with what happened, but I think the first two acts might be a turnoff for some people because not a lot happens, really. There's not a lot of story development. There's not a lot of exploration of certain themes. I mean, they kind of touch on stuff, but not enough to really be like, okay, I see what they're trying to talk about here. There's not like a message to this movie. It's just stuff happening. This movie is not like gonna blow you away. I thought it was entertaining. It's something to watch, but it's not like the top horror movie of the year by any means. The verdict. I think Antebellum is a great time. Now, this verdict is with reservation because I think there are elements that are good, especially towards the end. I think that's what won me over. But I would say a lot of the movie, there's not a lot going on. There's not a lot of character development. There's not a lot of in-depth exploration of themes. So if that's what you're looking for in a horror movie, then this is probably not the one for you. Also, again, it's not that scary. I was disappointed that it wasn't really that scary. So overall, I'd say I was entertained by the end of it, but it's not one of my favorite movies of the year. What did you think of Antebellum? Let me know down in the comments. Also, don't forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one.